Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Historic Center of Excellence for Louisiana, Request for Proposal Cycle 3 webinar. We're going to wait just a few moments for additional people to join the webinar, and then we'll get started. Okay, it seems like the attendees have slowed down joining the meeting, so we'll go ahead and get started. First off, welcome everyone, and thank you for your interest in the Restorac Center of Excellence for Louisiana, or LACOE as we call it for short, and this request for proposals. To begin the webinar today, I'd like to introduce you to our team. I'm Jessica Henkel, the director of the LACOE, and also joining us today from the LACOE, we have our chief scientist, Alyssa Dousman, our grants director, Daniel Johnson, Eva Windhofer, our program coordinator, and Brittany Jensen, our data manager, both of whom will be helping us monitor questions during the webinar. I'd also like to welcome our LACOE partners with the Louisiana Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, David Lindquist and Summer Langlois. Now, before we begin the presentation, I have a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be made available on the LACOE website following the webinar. Also, all webinar participants have been muted automatically. If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them using the Q&A function in the webinar meeting. Before asking your questions, we encourage you to review the FAQs available on the LACOE website, and that we also linked for you in the registration information for this meeting. If you do have questions after the webinar, you may also submit them via email. I will note, though, that to maintain full transparency, questions submitted during the webinar or via email will not be answered today or by email response. Instead, final answers along with the questions will be posted to the LACOE FAQ webpage within 5 working days. I'll note that the last day to submit questions on the letters of intent will be February 19th, 2024, and the last day to submit questions on the full proposals will be April 12th, 2024. So here's an outline of today's webinar presentation. First, we will provide a synopsis of Restorac funding and the Center of Excellence. Then I will provide an overview of the request for proposals, including the award types and anticipated number of awards. I will then turn the call over to Alyssa Dousman, our chief scientist, who will highlight the research needs and activities described in this RFP. We will then review the important dates for the submission for funding and provide a high-level overview of the review process. I will then turn the call over to Daniel Johnson, our grants manager for LACOE, who will discuss funding eligibility, walk us through the LOI and proposal submission portal, and discuss award administration. Finally, we will end the webinar by reading out loud any questions that have been submitted during the webinar. So first, to begin with a history of the Centers of Excellence Research Grant Program. As members of the Gulf Coast community, you are likely very aware of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill that began in April 2010 and resulted in the largest oil spill ever reported in U.S. history. Following the spill, President Obama signed the Resources and Ecosystem Sustainability, Tourist Opportunities, and Revised Economies of the Gulf Coast States Act, better known as the Restore Act. The Restore Act established the Gulf Coast Restoration Trust Fund and directed 80% of civil penalties resulting from the oil spill be deposited into the trust fund to fund restoration of natural resources and economic recovery in the Gulf Coast region. As of October 2023, the total available for Restore Act projects in the trust fund is approximately $6.1 billion with interest. As part of the Act, 2.5% of the funds in that trust fund are dedicated to the establishment of the Centers of Excellence in each of the 5 Gulf Coast states. The LACOE is one of the 6 Restorac Centers of Excellence across the Gulf of Mexico. Looking from west to east across the Gulf in Texas, there is the Subsea Systems Institute and the Texas One Gulf Center of Excellence. Here in Louisiana, of course, we are the RestoreX Center of Excellence for Louisiana. In Mississippi, there is the Mississippi-based RestoreX Center of Excellence. There is the Alabama Center of Excellence, and Florida has the RestoreX Center of Excellence program. While each Center of Excellence is structured differently in how they coordinate with their state agencies, each function in accordance with the Restore Act policies, and each will receive approximately $26 million through 2031 for Center of Excellence grant programs. So Louisiana was identified as the Center of Excellence through CPRA in 2014, and on October 19th, 2015, the U.S. Department of Treasury approved Louisiana's first Center of Excellence grant. Funds for the Center of Excellence are provided from the U.S. Department of Treasury to the Louisiana Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, CPRA, and then those funds are transferred to the LACOE. This slide highlights the administration of the LACOE to help you understand how the center operates. So CPRA is LACOE's project sponsor and contract manager, and the key personnel from CPRA responsible for this are David Lindquist and Summer Langlois, who, as I mentioned, are joining us here today. The LACOE is a separate program within the Water Institute's existing structure, and the key personnel for the day-to-day operations of the LACOE using its standard operating procedures are myself as a director, its chief scientist, grants manager, program coordinator, and data manager. And I will highlight that the LACOE team here at the Water Institute works very closely with our partners at CPRA. In addition, the LACOE also has an executive committee, which is comprised of senior research officials from Louisiana's universities and research organizations. The executive committee's activities include working with the LACOE to develop and update its standard operating procedures and research needs documents, approving guidelines for the competitive grants program, and approving success metrics for the program. The executive committee also works with the LACOE to establish the External Review Board. The External Review Board is a group of independent scientists and engineers from outside of Louisiana that provide technical feedback on the LACOE operations and will support the review of proposals for RFP3. So the mission of the LACOE program is to support research directly relevant to the implementation of Louisiana's Coastal Master Plan by administering a competitive grants program and providing the appropriate coordination and oversight to ensure that success metrics are tracked and achieved. Louisiana's Coastal Master Plan, which is updated every 6 years and was most recently updated in 2023, is a plan that was developed by CPRA with input from citizens, legislatures, parish representatives, and stakeholder groups, and uses the best available science and engineering to focus states' efforts and guide actions needed to sustain Louisiana's coastal ecosystems, safeguard populations, and protect its economic and cultural resources. The plan is available at coastalLA.gov or through the QR codes shown on your screen, and we highly encourage you to read and review the 2023 plan as part of developing your research proposals and plans for this RFP if you have not done so already. So as I said earlier, LACOE received its first funding in 2015. And this slide shows a geographic depiction of the research areas and the PIs that have been funded since then under 2 RFP cycles, what we refer to as RFP1 and RFP2. A total of 20 projects have been supported under these funding cycles. And if you'd like to learn more about the funded projects under them, additional information describing each of the funded projects is available on our website. For RFP1, this information also includes the final project reports and publicly available data sets. As RFP2 has just concluded, as you'll see on the screen, we just concluded RFP2 period of performance ended in October of 2023. We do not have those final reports or data sets available yet, but we anticipate making those available in November of 2024. So this slide aims to highlight the impacts of LACOE funded research. To date, LACOE funded projects have resulted in the support of 82 undergraduates, graduates, and postdocs, 19 published journal articles, and 25 data sets that have been made publicly available. As I mentioned, as RFP2 has just concluded, we anticipate that the number of journal articles and data sets shown on the screen here will increase significantly in the next year as a result of those RFP2 projects are made available. You can also track our impact through the LACOE Google Scholar account, which includes all publications resulting from funding provided by the LACOE. So with that, I think we have covered the important highlights of the LACOE and its activities to date, but I certainly encourage you to explore our website further for additional information. We will now begin a discussion of RFP3, but as a reminder, we welcome you to submit your written questions as I'm talking or at the end of this webinar for any questions that you have regarding RFP3. But we'll also remind you to please view the previously answered FAQs that are available at our website and also available at the end of the RFP3 document itself. So moving on to this request for proposals, RFP3, in July 2023, Treasury amended its award to CPRA to allow for the continuation of the Center of Excellence program through the LACOE. We released RFP3 on January 25th, 2024, and just last week. And if you have not yet reviewed the RFP3 document, it is available to download on our website under the Funding Opportunities tab. Approximately $4.2 million is available for research under this RFP, and we anticipate approximately 12 awards to be made under this opportunity. So there are two types of funding available under this RFP. One is for research awards, and the other is for graduate assistantship awards. All projects should be completed within 2 years for either the research awards or the graduate assistantship awards. We anticipate up to $750,000 available for graduate assistantships, and these awards will be for up to $150,000 each. For the research awards, we anticipate up to $3.45 million available for research awards. And under this category, we anticipate two funding levels, one for awards of less than $350,000 and one for awards of less than $685,000. Please note, these funding levels will be adjusted if the proposals submitted do not total the designated amount. Also note that cost sharing and matching is not required for the LACOE awards. Okay, now I'll provide more detail for each type of award. For both award types, the graduate assistantship and the research awards require a letter of intent, and the principal investigator on the proposal must be a full-time employee of a Louisiana college or university. These awards provide funds for full-time graduate student stipends, tuition, and minimal research expenses. So that's research expenses of less than $10,000. All of this to support a graduate student, a master's or PhD at a Louisiana college university for up to 2 years. Of critical importance, the graduate assistantship research proposals must support research activities that are listed in Section 3, Research Topics in RFP3. Of important note, graduate assistantships cannot be used to support work proposed under the following research awards category. And while internships with private institutions may be included as part of the graduate students' training, the funding for the organization's expenses cannot be supported. For the research awards, once again, the letter of intent is required, and the PI on the proposal must be a full-time employee of a Louisiana organization or institution. Other co-PIs, however, may be from any organization or institution within or outside Louisiana. Support for the research awards must also support research activities listed in Section 3 of the research topics in RFP3. And the research must produce findings directly applicable to the regular update and implementation of the Louisiana Coastal Master Plan. Appropriate activities under the research awards category include field and laboratory studies, computer modeling, archival research, surveys, data analysis, and data synthesis. Of note, we highly recommend that inter-organizational proposals be submitted and that proposals that address the complex and cross-disciplinary research needs for Louisiana also be considered and submitted. For your research award proposals, we also would like to see meaningful rules for undergraduate and graduate students and postdoctoral fellows. I will now turn the call over to our Chief Scientist, Alyssa Dousman, who will highlight the research topics and activities identified in this RFP. Alyssa?
Thanks, Jessica. Hi, I'm Alyssa Dousman. And I'm just going to go briefly over the research needs and research activities that are targeted as part of RFP3, right? So we are targeting specific research needs and activities, and you can find those in section 3.0 of the RFP document, right? So the Center of Excellence has a research needs document that broadly outlines the research, modeling, and monitoring needs for informing Louisiana's Coastal Master Plan. The research needs are organized in 5 topical areas with the description of the rationale and potential outcomes that directly support the Coastal Master Plan. So the 5 topics that you can find in the research needs doc are topic 1, hydrology and hydrodynamics of riverine, estuarine, and coastal systems. 2, estuarine and coastal ecology. 3, geotechnical, structural, and coastal engineering. 4, deltaic geology, geomorphology, subsidence, and sediment dynamics. And 5, human dimensions, right? For this 3rd funding cycle, the targeted research needs were selected from the document, but in section 3, what you'll find is specific research activities that fall under these research needs, right? So there are 19 research activities. So of critical note, that in your letters of intent to be considered for invitation to a full proposal, it has to be identified with one of these 19 research activities that fit within the research needs. However, based on feedback that we've had from the prior RFP cycles, we have research activity 9 is open, and it allows for the submission of an LOI that does not specifically align with any other of the other 18 research activities described in the RFP, but it does align with the research needs document. So you do need to identify one of those 19, but knowing that if you don't in the first 18, the 19th does allow you to have a little bit more broader application to your LOI. It just needs to tie back, the activity needs to tie back to the overall research needs document. And so if it's if you have any questions, like I said, please submit them in the Q&A or an email, and then I will turn it back over to you, Jessica.
Great. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Okay, so this slide shows the important dates related to this opportunity. We sent out a save the date email back at the end of 2023 and released the RFP on our website last week on January 25th, 2024. You are here today at the live and recorded webinar and are welcome to submit questions on this RFP. We will open up the Letters of Intent portal for submission tomorrow morning, February 2nd. And letters of intent are due for both the graduate assistantships and research awards by 5 p.m. Central Time on February 23rd. Feedback will be provided to all submitted letters of intent by March 18th, 2024. The feedback will include a determination as to whether the PI should submit a full proposal. Late letters of intent will not be considered, and full proposals cannot be submitted without a letter of intent. Those who are invited to submit a full proposal must do so by April 22nd, 2024. The full proposals will then undergo an external review process by the LACOE External Review Board. The announcement of graduate assistantships and researchers awards are expected in late June, with awards and research activities expected to begin in August 2024. I will now touch on the review process for the letter of intent and proposals. For the letter of intent, we will have an independent panel with subject matter experts that will review the letter of intents for eligibility for the category of award, provision of required information, relevance to the research activities detailed in this RFP and the implementation of the Coastal Master Plan, and scientific merit, including potential contribution to existing knowledge, theoretical framework and context, and demonstrated understanding of the system to be studied. Both the relevance and scientific merit of the letters of intent will be scored as low, medium, and high. For the full proposals, review procedures will include an independent evaluation of each proposal by multiple members of the External Review Board and assessment by the LACOE and CPRA based on 6 criteria. And those 6 criteria are shown here on the screen. They're, again, the same relevance and scientific merit criteria, appropriateness of the methods and approach, competency of the team, capacity building, and appropriateness of the budget. So this slide and table details each of these 6 criteria and the relative weighting under each criteria that the external reviewers of the full proposals will be asked to evaluate. As you can see, relevance is a critical component of the full proposal evaluation, weighted very, very heavily with a score of 35. And this weighting highlights the importance of carefully reviewing those research activities that Alyssa walked us through and it articulated in section 3 of the RFP, and ensuring that your proposed research activities link back to the Louisiana Coastal Master Plan. This table is also available in the RFP itself, and we encourage you to carefully review the scoring criteria in developing your full proposals. And so with that, I'm now going to turn the webinar over to Danielle Johnson, the Director of Grants and Contracts at the Institute and Grants Manager for LACOE. And she's going to walk us through eligibility for this RFP. Danielle?
Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll talk a little bit about eligibility. So in order to first apply, you all have to be at an academic institution, private firm, non-governmental, a nonprofit, and governmental agencies are eligible to apply. The lead has to be located in the state of Louisiana. That is one major requirement. Federal agencies are eligible to apply, but you have to first get advanced approval before submitting, because we have to determine whether there are agency rules that will allow you to participate in this particular program and be able to receive direct funding. So per Treasury's guidelines, LACOE may not make a subaward to an entity that does not have a DUNS number and also a UEI number. Current or previous staff within the last 2 years from CPRA and the Water Institute may not participate in letters of intent, be a part of any research teams, or participate in the proposal development in any way. And then I do want to hang out here on this slide for a little bit and take over and actually get into the submission portal for you all. The website here is where you will register for an account. If you guys have an account already with Survey Apply, you can use the same account. You won't have to set up a new account. But if you do, you will get a link that'll be emailed to you that will allow you to complete and submit for a new user account. Once you get into that portal and you do get your account set up, you guys can have collaborators that actually come in and help put input into your letters of intent and or your full proposals, which means a lot of authorized organizations have to have approvals for their either LOIs or their full proposals. They can be added in the collaborator section. Those accounts will be used for proposals, awards, and are reporting in the same portal. So once you actually make a submission for LOI, make a full proposal, and fingers crossed you guys actually become and receive an award, everything happens in this one portal. So it's a one-stop shop for everything. I do want to share my screen now and take you into the portal and just kind of run through so you guys can kind of see the task and where things lie. So I will share my screen and take you over to the portal, which is here. Once you actually log in and get your account set up, you will see 2 options for both types of awards that you could apply for. Right now, I'm just going live showing you the graduate assistantship program. So you can here get some summary information, funding, eligibility, same thing, and then also give you the timelines of deadlines. You will come into the system and click apply. You'll have to put in a project title. And then it's very short, but there are tasks here, 5 tasks that you actually have to go through and complete. I do want to say right here, if you have to add an LR from your institution that has to come in and approve anything in the system for you, you can come here and add them as a collaborator. You only just need to add their information, and then they will get a link and they'll be able to come in and contribute to your LOI or your proposal. The basic details here is just getting some basic information from you all based off your institution. The second task is also just for you to put who your lead PI is, and you have an option to select how many co-PIs you have, and it will filter out and let you put their information in as well. The cover page task is where you have the most information to include. You will say what type of award type you have, your actual project title, and then all the information that was included in the RFP for the specific type of award you're applying for. And then these are all the research needs that Alyssa just spoke about. I will tell you, when you get to the new 19 research topic need, this is where you can come in and you would input the research need that you would actually be considering that is not listed numbers 1 through 18. So you can type into this box, and then you also will type in the keywords that you need. Whenever you get through with the task, mark it as complete, because once you mark it as complete, whenever you get here, the bubble will fill. So it kind of keeps you on task for what you need to complete and what's kind of left out for you to do. The narrative is just an upload, right? It's 2 to 3 pages. Same thing again as listed in the RFP. It kind of keeps you on task. You can follow the RFP flow, and this system is just that easy to come and follow and make your uploads. And then the last document is the past and current collaborators document that you'll upload. And you'll notice there are a couple of hyperlinks for you guys to kind of help bring you directly to a template that you could use if you don't already have one that has been created. So these 5 tasks need to all be completed. Once you actually put the information in, all of these circles will fill green. Once you're done, you just click submit. Once you click submit, that completes the submission of your actual LOI. All right. And I just wanted to bring you guys to the actual portal just so you can kind of see how things move through. And let's see. The next piece would be submit the LOI, get the proposal submitted. I can move on to award administration. So we do intend to, hopefully by late June, be able to put out award notices for everyone that is selected. Just a couple of things to highlight for having the award, a couple of requirements. So we do semi-annual technical performance progress reports. Those are uploaded in the same portal that I just showed you. We will have a kickoff that will come and tell you everything about how to upload and, what that system would look like on the award side of things. We do have financial statements and invoices that will allow you to do monthly. And there's a format that we follow. And there's some information that we get with you every time you submit an invoice. It just kind of tells us, what kind of progress you've made on the project. We do have up to 2 in-person presentations that'll happen in the spring and summer in Baton Rouge. So we do want those costs to be included in your proposal. But the third item here is just to let you know, these are some things that are kind of required when you actually do get the award. And we do have semi-annual webinars. So we do, keep in touch and highlight and share accomplishments. We like to give kudos and keep everyone involved, and, have training on data management and co-production, which was fun to see through this RFP2 cycle. And then at the end, no one wants to say goodbye, but we do have to close out things and submit final reports within 30 days of close, which I will tell you, it's something that you need to track, especially kind of towards the end, keeping all of your publications, presentations, thesis, any type of information that you use during the project, your project performance. We do complete all of that, and it's all uploaded in the final report. And again, all of these reports and documents that I'm referencing, they will all be uploaded in the portal with the exception of invoicing. Invoicing does not happen in that portal, but everything else report-wise does. And I will turn it back over to the leader.
Great. Thank you so much, Danielle. Okay, well, we have reached the conclusion of our webinar presentation, and in a minute, I will ask our program coordinator, Eva Windhuffer, to read any questions we've received during the webinar. So I encourage you to submit any questions you have at this time using, again, the Q&A function in the webinar. But if for some reason you are unable to view or access that Q&A function, you may also submit questions using the chat function, or again, via email after this webinar. Before we begin reading the questions, I will ask our partners joining from CPRA if there are any additional comments or you would like to make at this time regarding the RFP.
Sure, I can say a few words. I'm Summer Langlois with CPRA. I just wanted to reiterate that the mission of the Louisiana COE is to fund research that supports the implementation of the Coastal Master Plan. I wanted to reassure you, we're committed to using this research. It's not just going to sit on a shelf. If your proposal is selected for funding, the Water Institute will assign a technical point of contact, and CPRA will assign a CPRA liaison who will stay up to date on what's going on with your project, will be a resource to you to answer any questions and help problem solve if necessary, and also to make sure that the research gets used as soon as possible. So always be keeping that in mind as you put together your LOIs and your proposals, and as you conduct your research. We're looking for actionable science and applied research.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Summer. I will now ask Eva to read any questions that we have received via the Q&A or chat function out loud. Eva?
Thanks, Jessica. So I have seen 3 questions come in. I will read them now. The first one is, how are intellectual ideas in the proposal protected through the review process? The Water Institute, which handles the proposal review process, is often competing on some of the same RFPs put out by other agencies where investigators submitting to COE are also submitting. Thus, there is a need for general guidelines on how ideas in the proposals submitted for RFP3 are protected so that investigators are willing to participate in this COE call with their best ideas. Great question. The second one is, are individuals who have consulted for but were not staff of the Water Institute or for the Coastal Master Plan eligible? And the third one is, can I be main PI on a proposal and co-PI on another proposal for this call? I just got a fourth one here, which says, what are all the organizations that are excluded from submitting an LOI in addition to the CPRA and the Water Institute? Also, are they only excluded to be a primary investigator, or are they not allowed as a co-PI? If y'all have any other questions, please post them in the Q&A or in the chat. Just as a reminder, we will answer and post all of these questions on our website. And if you think of any other questions outside of this webinar, feel free to send us an email with your question. The email is there on the screen.
Great. Thank you so much, Eva. So yes, just to reiterate, we are not answering questions today to maintain full transparency. And all the questions that have been asked today, as well as any that we received by email, will be posted on the LACOE FAQ webpage within 5 working days. The last day to submit questions via email on the letters of intent is February 19th, 2024. And the last day to submit questions on the full proposal submission will be April 12th, 2024. Okay, well, that concludes the webinar for today. But before we end, I want to be sure to acknowledge the funding for this program. the U.S. Department of Treasury through the Louisiana Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority Center of Excellence Research Grants Program. The LACOE is very grateful for the support and looks forward to the exciting research to be funded under RFP3. Thank you so much, and happy Mardi Gras, everyone.